Okay, please, we're going to start with the comments. So please welcome the nuclear power groups.
About 12% of the world's electricity production in 2012 was provided by nuclear energy. In total, 13 countries were provided by nuclear energy, was only 25%, which is not very much. The first nuclear fission was in 1940, and in 1944, Otto Hahn won the Nobel Prize for this discovery. The first town to be powered by nuclear energy was Arco, Idaho in 1955.
According to experts at the University of Pittsburgh, radiation consists of subatomic particles traveling at or near the velocity of light, 186,000 miles per second. They can penetrate deep inside the human body and damage biological cells, thereby initiating cancer. If they strike sex cells, they can cause genetic diseases. Nuclear power is a very black and white topic. It may seem useful and innovative, but at what cost? The high stakes that come along with nuclear power are more than what comes to the eye. It has horrible effects such as high cost, nuclear waste, and possible nuclear accidents.
I am Dawson Apple, and this is Morgan McClellan and Ryan Winterskill. We are here to speak in defense of the overwhelming benefits of nuclear power. Nuclear power is not only one of the least expensive sources of power, but it has one of the lowest greenhouse gas emissions of all power sources and is ready to become self-sustainable. Since the creation of the first electricity-producing nuclear reactor in December 1951, the face of nuclear power has been revolutionized. And the first commercial nuclear power plant was opened on June 27, 1954, and was soon bypassed in the 1960s by second-generation reactors, realizing widespread commercial benefits and improvements. In the 1990s, the first third-generation nuclear power plant was opened, and despite being 10 times safer than our current nuclear power plants, still has yet to receive widespread use. Research is still ongoing to realize the full potential of nuclear power and to uncover new generations of nuclear power plants.
A negative impact of nuclear power is the risk of nuclear accidents. There have been many technologies put in place to ensure that accidents such as the one at Fukushima, Japan, don't happen again, but the risk is still very high. Research shows between 15,000 and 30,000 Japanese lost their lives in the Fukushima accident, and more than 2.5 million Ukrainians are struggling with health problems today because of the accident in Chernobyl. Even small radiation leaks can cause devastating effects. People who work and live near the nuclear power plants are at a high risk of being exposed to radiation. Dr. John Goffman, a former Manhattan Project scientist, says that now that we know the hazard of low-dose radiation, the crime is not experimentation anymore, it's murder.
As in the consideration of all long-term energy decisions, the sustainability of nuclear power has been questioned. While many underinformed individuals claim that nuclear fuel sources are nearly depleted, the Nuclear Power Agency has estimated that our nuclear fuel sources will last at least 200 years, assuming the use of outdated reactors. This does not take into account the development of fast neutron reactors, which can indefinitely extend our nuclear fuel sources by producing its own nuclear fuel, as well as consuming the nuclear waste of our past. When optimized, fast neutron reactors can produce more nuclear fuel than they consume. This technology has been in use experimentally since 1955 and as a commercial prototype since 1972 and is ready to enter commercial production again. The widespread acceptance of fast neutron reactors will open the doors to unlimited energy, improved safety measures, and the eradication of nuclear waste for the benefit of all.
Nuclear power plants are very expensive. In 2008, it cost between $2 and $4 million to construct. Within 5 years, the price had more than doubled to $9 billion. The impacts of the high cost meant that half of the nuclear power plants that were set to build got abandoned due to insufficient funds to finish them. This made the companies turn to the government for grants and subsidies to help them pay for it. This impacted us because we are the taxpayers and we support the government. Our taxes were increased. The companies also increased our monthly bill to help pay for the construction of the new plants. A Union of Concerned Scientists survey showed that a majority of people agree that the money being spent should not be focused on expanding the industry, but the money should be spent on improving the energy output of already existing plants. The survey also says that there are cheaper alternatives such as wind, hydro, and biomass.
Nuclear energy is an efficient way to produce safer and cleaner energy. While nuclear power plants emit water vapor, other resources such as coal power plants emit water vapor, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, mercury, lead, uranium, and other toxics into the air. Large greenhouse gas emissions can be avoided through the use of nuclear power plants because they do not emit such gases that can lead to urban smog and acid rain. Fossil fuels are responsible for 70% of sulfur dioxide emissions, 13% of nitrogen oxide emissions, and 40% of carbon dioxide emissions due to the combustion of such fuels. Nuclear power plants can slow down global warming because those gases that are released when using such fuels are what speeds it up. Therefore, nuclear power plants are cleaner and safer for the environment as well as being more efficient.
Nuclear power results in harmful nuclear waste. Every year, a nuclear power plant generates over 20 metric tons of spent nuclear fuel, which is classified as high-level radioactive waste. This waste emits heat and radiation, meaning it will eventually corrode any container that it is held in. It also proves lethal to nearby life forms. Radiation consists of radioisotopes with long half-lives. This means that they will stay in the atmosphere in some form or another. The half-life of a radioisotope is the time spent for radioactive material to turn into a non-radioactive material. Some of these byproducts are long-lasting and can stay radioactive for up to 10,000 years. Burying nuclear waste deep underground is the most frequently used method when it comes to permanent disposal, but it's not as simple as it sounds. Finding a location is challenging, and construction of the underground vaults takes a considerable amount of resources and time. It can also damage the land which it is placed under. Overall, we need to take into consideration the widespread damage that nuclear power has on the world.
While researching, we found multiple economic benefits for the use of nuclear power. Nuclear power is one of the most cheapest and most inexpensive sources of energy. If you look at the slide, you can see the comparison of solar, coal, natural gas, and nuclear power costs. The cost of solar is 18.12 cents per kilowatt hour. Coal is 10.29 cents per kilowatt hour. Natural gas costs 8.09 cents per kilowatt hour. And nuclear power is the most cheapest at 3.31 cents per kilowatt hour. Nuclear power fuel is very easily accessible and can be mined in the US. This way we don't have to buy it from overseas countries.
Nuclear power is a very risky and poor choice as a source of energy. Not only is nuclear power very expensive, generate radioactive waste, and have the potential for major nuclear accidents, but nuclear power kills people. Nuclear power has accounted for thousands of deaths. And the fact that there are other safer and less expensive alternatives, such as wind and hydro, the negatives of nuclear power outweigh the advantages by a considerable margin.
Nuclear power is very beneficial. Not only is it inexpensive, but it is clean and sustainable. If we use nuclear power, it could change the way we use energy forever. This is why we believe that These are only some reasons why we believe that the U.S. House Subcommittee should recommend that the U.S. government should subsidize the construction of more nuclear power plants.
Questions for your staff? Questions, which side?
For the con. You had said before that the radiation can travel, like, you had a picture of Europe. How exactly does it travel like that far?
I'm not sure. I think it's probably just the gas coming off of the fuel.
Yeah. So, okay.
Oh, what a pros. How will they store the radiation and the waste without damaging the system?
Can you repeat that?
How will they store the waste without damaging the system?
So most nuclear waste is kept in temporary containment units, but now, and there is also plans for long-term geologic disposal, where the nuclear waste will be kept in underground units, very well protected from any earthquakes or natural disasters that would open it up again. And also, with the developing technology, we'll soon be able to recycle most or all of that nuclear waste, especially with fast neutron reactors, and use that as fuel for future nuclear power plants.